Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand. Cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand. Cause you are the one for me. Just believe.
Come on, people. The Kings of Manchester have arrived. The Kings of Manchester. Why do I say that? Because we have beaten our local rivals, Manchester United 6-3, as you will all know. It's world news at this point, isn't it? And we're probably the last to do a review. Why? Because essentially we couldn't find a time that suited us all. Last night, obviously, most of you, if you come from the Big Six viewership, you will know that I did a review on the Big Six last night. That was a bit of a madness. Big Steve making a return to cook Saeed. I cooked him a little bit myself, and we talked about the North London derby, and then Liverpool dropping points to Brighton. It was a crazy stream. If you haven't had a look at that, go and watch that after this. But listen, it's our turn. It's our turn to give our thoughts a bit more in depth here, because I think last night's show in the Big Six, it was more about grilling Saeed on why Man United were so bad, and we didn't spend a huge amount of time glorifying and praising why Manchester City were so good, because it was by far and beyond our best performance this season. I mean, if we're being hypercritical, you can be a bit disappointed that we conceded 3 goals, but there's reasoning behind that, and I think there's reason to be understanding of that situation as well when you're lacking 4 of your best players. But we'll get into all that. We're the Kings of Manchester. Haaland with a hat trick, Philip Walter Foden with a hat trick. You know what, people? It actually doesn't get much sweeter than this, other than the 3 goals conceded, the 6 goals, the 2 goal scorers, Haaland getting 2 assists, the family stand, the South stand, all doing the Poznan. It doesn't get much sweeter. It really doesn't, especially after all the chest the United fans were giving in the week leading up to this game. But listen, we'll get into all that. We'll see you in the buildings. About 15 people here right now. Make sure you've all smashed the like button, as Dano said in the pin message. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're getting very close now to 4K, and we would massively appreciate your support. We'd love to hit 4K as soon as possible. Let's see who we've got in the building, and get in your thoughts, people. Get in your thoughts on the Manchester derby. Get in your thoughts on the Big Six last night. Get in your thoughts on the whole weekend. It was a mad weekend of both football and content, and there were some great content creators covered that. Honestly, there was some fantastic Manchester derby content. So there's plenty for you guys to enjoy. But get in your thoughts here. We'll read out your messages, see what you guys are saying. As always, it's as much for you as it is for us. We don't get like mad views on these streams, so we can kind of go in depth and think about what you guys are saying, more so than if there was a couple of thousand people here. So that's what the beauty of these streams is. We got Kerwin, we got It's LB. He says, yes, lads, that is Lewis from the City Extra channel. They did a class watch along for the Manchester derby. And yeah, good to see you, Lewis. Russ Beard, as always, yes, boys. Dara, Alec Johnson, hello, Blue. Smash the like, says Dara Rebel. Who else we got? Luke, Andrew, evening fellas. Hugh, I like the passionate summary you gave last night in the Big Six. Saeed took an L for running off, though. Yeah, listen, for those of you who watched the Big Six last night, Saeed absolutely dipped, man. Saeed absolutely dipped. I was giving Saeed my thoughts on the Manchester derby, and I was reminding him of the confidence that he brought onto our stream on this channel. And I owe all of you, I owe all of you, and I said it on the Big Six last night, but to all the 1894 viewers that tuned in to my preview with Saeed last week, I owe you all an apology. I owe you all a sincere apology. I hold my hands up and I say, I apologize for allowing that guy, that fraud, to have any players in this combined 11, because you know what, they let him down. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I owe you people, you great Blues, an apology, because that was a mistake on my part. So listen, Saeed ran last night. He couldn't handle the smoke. In fairness to Toby, he was able to handle it. But Saeed, listen, that's poor from you, my brother. Haaland is unstoppable. He's already in my all-time City 11. That's a big shout, Rust. Watch the game with my 2 United mates. Jeez, I'd say that was interesting, says Dara. City were in the 3rd gear and ripped those rags. And you know what? We'll get into all this. Listen, I'm just flicking through all of your initial thoughts, but Revel and Joe here will give their thoughts too. But I want to start it off by saying, Joe, may as well start with you. I think it's a good point that, who makes it here? Alec Johnson says City were in third gear. I don't think we ever even hit top gear. I think the scary part for this is there's still more to come, Joe. But anyway, tell me your thoughts on that game. Both of you, speak on that, because I've done on the Big Six, and I'll give you more, but fire away.
Right, I suppose I'll go up first. I'm getting there after you from certain Mr. Revel. I'm happy. I am a little bit, like, deep inside. I am a little bit disappointed that we conceded 3, but well, I suppose when you look at it, I understand exactly why we have conceded 3. Like, there's no glare. Maybe by the penalty, there's no glaring defensive errors. I mean, for the last sort of, I think, 15 minutes, we ended up playing the infamous 5-1-4 that we played against Chelsea a couple of years ago, where we have just one sole midfielder just running about. So, and then that's where the two goals came for later on. So overall, like, it's not perfect, but I think a lot of us coming into this weren't expecting it to be perfect. Like, a lot of us were going into this thinking, if we turn up, we will beat them, but we haven't fully turned up this season. You know, it was the test, really. It was a test for Akanji as well. His first test, he dealt with it really, really well. And also a test in terms of the midfield as well. Obviously, we got the news, like, I don't know how long before, that Rodri was going to be out as well. So there was a few eyebrows raised there. You know, United fans were getting a little bit giddy, getting a little bit ahead of themselves. But of course, we were just superb. Like, this first half, if we continued in the second half like we did the first half, you're looking at double digits. You're looking at that 9-0 record. Like, you just are. We just quite simply went from second gear back to first gear in the second half and just kind of sat there and went, the game's done. We've got the 3 points. Conserve ourselves. We've got a busy fixture pile up. We're playing Sunday, Wednesday. So, you know, let's save ourselves for that Champions League game coming up, which we will get into. But, like, I'm happy. Like, 3 points is 3 points. I'm not too arsed about the fact that we conceded 3 again, because I can understand why, but, like, we can be better than that. We can still be better than that.
I don't know about you lads, but I'll be totally honest with you. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, and I think Akanji was absolutely fantastic. I think Ake was fantastic for the most part too. I was nervous about Gundogan when I saw he was playing in the 6, because I don't think we've seen Gundogan play in the 6 since the Champions League final against Chelsea. Would I be right in saying that? That's the first, yeah. So I was a bit nervous, you know what I mean? But I have to say, you know, it turned out fine. It turned out absolutely fine. I was nervous when I saw no Rodri. I was worried. I was nervous when I saw no Diaz. We knew there would be no Laporte, and we kind of knew there'd be no Stones. We knew Kyle Walker was sort of playing on one leg too. But listen, we can now take kind of a lot of solace, really, a lot of comfort from the fact that in those hyper injury situations, in those situations where we're going through a crisis, and it seems to be an ongoing theme with City for years now, really, is that we can't keep our whole complement of centre halves fit at once, and it's good to know that we can rely on Akanji. And you know what, I'm not going to name drop anybody on even though people like when I do that. I'm not going to name drop anyone, but a lot of people said to me, a lot of people who make content too said to me, Akanji has a number of big mistakes in him in these big games, and you should be worried about Akanji in these high pressure situations. We've seen him do it at Dortmund, we've seen him do it at Basel, and you know, when Rashford runs at him, there's problems going to be caused there, and same with whoever else runs at him. I didn't see it. I genuinely felt like Akanji looked extremely composed. He looks confident. And I think it's just a simple case of, yes, maybe he has made big mistakes in his past, where, you know, at Dortmund and whatnot. But when you take a player who obviously has good natural ability and a lot of qualities and plant him into an extremely good team like Manchester City, it's only going to improve them and make them feel more confident. So I think Akanji, he's proved he can do it. And I think we should take great comfort from the fact that we have him. But listen, Lewis makes a good point here. He says, my scary opinion is I don't even think Kev is playing at his top ability. Still think he's playing at 70%, be wild when he goes up another gear. I think that's a good conversation about Kevin De Bruyne, because he is playing very well, and I think he's growing into the season, and that's something we see a lot with Kevin De Bruyne year in, year out. He never really starts the season rapid, but he's growing into this season, and I don't think we'll see him hit that, you know, kind of 90 to 100% you're talking about, Lewis, until after Christmas. We know Kev is a business end of the season player. He turns it up when it matters the most, and I think that's when we can expect it. But if these are the numbers he's hitting right now at 70%, what can we expect? Well, he's already on 8 assists. He's got, 13 or something or 12 or 13 to equal or break the record him and Thierry Henry hold. I don't see any reason why Kevin De Bruyne can't smash that record. As long as he stays fit, I know he usually has one big injury a season, Kevin De Bruyne. As long as he can avoid that and stay fit, I don't see any reason why he can't smash the assist record. And this team has scary potential. But listen, Revel, 6-3 over United. I know you were nervous as well. I saw your message. You were texting me saying you were nervous when you saw the lineup. You weren't confident, and that hindsight's a beautiful thing, as I said. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sorry, it just kind of froze there for a sec, but sorry. We'll move on. I was shitting myself on. I thought we were gonna catch a tonk, and I thought we were gonna get absolutely torn apart. But not only did I overestimate Man United, overestimate their ability, I underestimated City, I underestimated that centre half partnership. Jesus fucking Christ, they are unbelievable. I said it for I've been kind of bigging up a Kanji now for a while since.
Him, Joe, is it?
It was a first-time play, but that was
yeah.
different gravy. Yeah, it's Spades. I tell you what, give us 2 seconds. I'll just connect to me data.
I think he's impressed. I think to summarize what Rebel is saying, he's impressed. There's a lot of messages coming in here. It's great to see all of you guys sending in your thoughts. I'll read as many as I can, and I'll go over as many as I can. Obviously, the more people that are in here, the harder it is to go through each one individually. But I appreciate all of you. If you would as well, make sure you smash the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 4K. I'd love to hit that as soon as possible. Luke says, "Yo, hello from Ireland." By the way, Hugh, Dara, Joe. The best part of the derby was two hat tricks against the Racks. Brilliant. That's of course, 2 hat tricks, unbelievable quality from the guys on Sunday. It's LB, love the city, extra content, bro. I can't believe how good Kanji is for the price. Listen, 50 minutes. You have to be curious as to how nobody else picked up a Kanji before us. If he was available at that price, you'd have to be curious as to why nobody picked him up.
Oh my Christ!
Oh my God!
Everything is going wrong.
Mute yourself. Just mute yourself for 5 minutes while you sort yourself out. Rebel is having a technical breakdown here. United fans are saying they're on a good run and gonna win. I think we may as well talk about that because that was the big thing going into this game, and I said it on the Big Six last night, Joe, that there was increasing confidence from United fans going into this game. You know, at the start, 2 weeks before, you know, we're still in the international break, and people are kind of starting to, you know, get into derby mode because it's the next domestic game, City United, and United fans are starting to go, you know, this is the most competitive one on paper in a long time. And, you know, Rashford's just got player of the month. You know, he's probably full of confidence, and Kyle Walker's not fully fit, so put a firing Rashford on the left against an injured Kyle Walker. You know, there's room for danger there, and Sancho just didn't turn up, obviously. I don't know where did it go wrong for Manchester United, Joe. I talked a bit about it on the Big Six last night, but I'd like to get your thoughts.
The hype surrounding Man United is where it all went wrong. They all got ahead of themselves.
They always do this, man. They always jump the gun. They hype themselves up just to let themselves down. But carry on.
They beat this Arsenal super team. Like, yeah, we're beating top of the league. You know, I mean, Arsenal kind of threw that one away. If you look at it again in the context, that was more Arsenal throwing it away than United actually being good. United just come in this far too cocky. Like, yeah, you know, we're all right when we go. We're all right when we go play City. We normally get a result, even if we're shit anyway. And we've actually been quite good leading up to this one. You know, you had Mark Goldbridge saying they had the best centre half partnership in the league. What a load of shit. Honestly. That's the second time they've been 4-0 down at half time. They just need to just take a chill pill sometimes, you know, just take a breather, you know, set it back a little bit, you know, don't get too far ahead of yourselves. You're still in the top 4 race. There are levels to this game. See that Martinez fella, 5'8", 5'9", whatever he is. Listen, combined 11s, no more. Not having it. You don't get a single player in. 3 of your back 4 were booked in the first half. I'm not having it. Seriously, like, they just got far too ahead of themselves. Rashford player of the month, all this hype around, you know, Ericsson got United's player of the month, and they're like, yeah, United are back. And then the 4-0 down after the first half of football. And, you know, it's back to square one, really, and hopefully that's been humbling. I hope they're realising that even if we're not performing at 100%, we're still miles better than them, and they will be lucky to get anything from us. But I'm happy, man. I'm happy that they came in with so much confidence, because you get a good laugh when you go and watch back and you see them going, oh, well, you know, we got half a team in a combined 11 and we're actually going to nick a win. Or I think Said was saying 2-2, so he was actually quite calm in his score prediction, but it kind of went out the window, really, didn't it?
I watched. I think every single preview Saeed did for that game, and the more as the previews were getting uploaded and released, I was watching them, and he was getting more and more confident. The one he did with Big Steve at the Etihad, it was a great video, by the way. I love that concept they do. If we lived in Manchester, I'd probably nab that idea myself, but we don't. And he was getting more confident, and that's the thing. It's the issue with United fans, is they just shoot themselves in the foot. They put this pressure on themselves. When, if I was in their shoes on previews, I would have been probably going in with the thought process of saying things like, yeah, you know, I think we're we're building nicely, we're building momentum, but I just don't think we're quite ready there yet to compete with City. Just take all the pressure off your team. So then if something does happen, you can go, wow, what an amazing thing. Don't put the pressure on the team that's just won 4 games in a row and you're going, yeah, United are back. As you said, you can't say that. They just completely disregard the fact that they got thumped by Brentford, wasn't it? They lost to Brighton, they lost to Real Sociedad. And they're going 4 games in a row now. They think they can compete with City in the Etihad. No, we're a different beast. We're a different beast, and I think they got humbled. I think they got absolutely humbled. And the scary part is what people are saying. A lot of people in the chat are saying we've not even hit top gear. Lewis said obviously Kevin De Bruyne hasn't hit, or he's playing at about 70%. I think that was the first time De Bruyne has hit 70% this season. I don't think he had been playing it around that up until now. That was the best we've seen of him and plenty of other players this season. And someone I want to give a massive shout out to, and I think we all need to give some praise and we all need to start putting some respect on his name if you haven't done so already. You know I have been for time now, and that's Jack Grealish. He was absolutely, like, don't roll your eyes, Rebel. He was absolutely phenomenal. Like, let's
rolling any eyes. Would you stop?
Let's call a spade, man. Jack Grealish was absolutely exceptional, and I said it last night. I was like, if Grealish plays like that every single week and doesn't score a single goal or assist, I will not criticize once. I'll be very fucking happy with that, because he sets the tempo, he sets the intensity, he sets the energy, he sets a mark for the way we're going to play for the rest of the game. And that, forcing that yellow card early doors, that put fear into Dalot. Immediately Dalot's in the back foot. He's afraid to throw himself in and leave a mark on Grealish. So Grealish kind of had the upper hand in him from the early parts of the game, and we fed off that. I mean, Joe, what did you think of Grealish? I think. Are we seeing the first bit of consistency from Jack Grealish? The Wolves game, I know he played well for England. I think it was against Italy, and then he plays great against Man United.
We are seeing the first bit of consistency. I think this comes with the first bit of consistent fitness he's had all season. My one slight thing with Grealish is, and I go on about this all the time, like, I'm not asked if he doesn't come out with numbers, because I know he's not a raw number, like, stat output guy, but we've scored 6 goals and he's the only attacking player that hasn't come out with anything, which it gets on my nerves just a little bit. But at the end of the day, he was still good. Like, I'm still giving him an 8 in the player ratings, because I know he was still good, especially in the transition. But it's just the small things, when you score 6 goals, one of your attacking players hasn't come out with a goal or an assist. It's the little things, if he was ever going to get one, it was probably now. But he must absolutely hate United, because this is the second time that he's played absolutely amazing against them. Like, he must have something. It must be because they tried to sign him as well, and he went, right, fuck off. But no, I'm happy. I'm glad he got that 15 minutes. I think he got 15 minutes or he got taken off. So it clearly says, to me at least, that Pep values him as a starter right now. He likes what he's seen from him, even if he doesn't contribute. He still has an overall effect on the game. Which I think screams how far he's really come. I think he's a player at the moment, at least, for the moment, while he's not getting the goals and the assists, while he's not getting the output, he's a player that you have to watch to appreciate right now. You have to watch to appreciate what he does on a football pitch, because if you just look at it on the face value of the numbers, which only tells half a story, then you go, oh, Grealish did nothing again. He's bang average. He's not 100 million, but he has an effect on this team, and he's starting to make that left-hand side his own, really, at the moment, and I'm happy to see it, because I too am one that I haven't stuck by him as much as you, because I genuinely think that's impossible, and no one else was that mental to stick by him that much. But I did stick by him a little bit. So I'm happy that he's now deciding to get his flowers. People are starting to appreciate what he's doing on the pitch, rather than just go, he's just a bit shit because he's not getting an assist.
I think I just showed my ball knowledge. That's it.
I liked with Grealish. I was really happy with how he came off. He looked genuinely fuming. Like, he looked really, really annoyed when he came off. So, like, that says to me that he's kind of like, he makes it obvious he's not happy with his output. And anyway, but the fact that he went through what he was on for the 6 goals. He was on that pitch for 6 goals.
Well, I want to say yes.
Let's just say yes, right? Just if not 5, right? For argument's sake, 6. He was on for 6 goals. Didn't get a contribution. On paper, did not get a contribution, and that's kind of annoying, And I don't like saying that. I like seeing people annoyed, but seeing him annoyed coming off that pitch, having not got really on the sheet with a stat, that I like that. I like when people are. I like that.
I agree that it's nice to see that he's not happy that he didn't contribute on the score sheet, with a goal or assist. But I also don't want it to get to him too much. I don't want him to start forcing it and getting frustrated when he's not getting goals and assists. If I was Pep, I would just say, don't worry that you didn't get a goal contribution. You played absolutely phenomenal. And if you keep playing like that, you will get your contributions. They will come over time. Like at the moment, he's just building up consistency. He's building up confidence. And I think he looks more confident because he was doing things that we hadn't seen him do a huge amount of anyway over the past sort of 12, 13 months. And I think there was one opportunity he probably is disappointed with. If you remember correctly, Haaland got the ball just on the outside of the box and he played a great pass over to Grealish, who was on the left-hand side. I think even Gary Neville said it at the time, Grealish has to hit that. He could have hit it on his instep and tried to bend it into the far post. Instead, he opted to take a touch and play one extra pass to the outside. So it's these kind of things that the more he plays and the more this front three develops and grows together, he'll pick up goals and assists because he'll start to be more clinical. He'll start to think quicker with these opportunities. But I couldn't be happier with him. I couldn't be happier with him. You know, we're seeing him grow nicely, and I've been saying this for so long, and some people completely disagreed with me from the very moment I started saying it, that Grealish, Haaland and Foden is the perfect front three. It's just a matter of allowing them to grow together. And something that Pep likes to do, obviously, is to chop and change his wingers a lot. And that's something we had to deal with a lot throughout the sort of false nine system, was seeing different faces every single week. You'd never know what the front three was going to be. But there's a real opportunity here to build a front three that just knows each other inside out. You know, I hate to talk about FIFA and that kind of thing, but chemistry, you know what I mean? It is a thing in football, whether you like it or not. We saw it with Mane, Salah and Firmino. Firmino's not, I was never a particular fan of him, but he was made look really good, and his game improved so much because he built a connection and chemistry with the two wingers beside him. And I don't see why we can't do that with Haaland, Grealish and Foden. And all three of them offer completely different things, which is going to frighten the lights out of any defence you play against, because I don't know what to expect from these three players. They all offer different qualities. So I think there's a real opportunity here, and you know, players like Mahrez might feel hard done by because Mahrez has been so crucial for us for a long time now. But as I said a few minutes ago, you're only as good as your last performance. And if these three are showing signs of growing together, and they can only get better, the more they play, they can only get better. I mean, Foden and Haaland are both 22 years old. I know Grealish is 26, 27, but he's still in the early parts of his City development. So we could be onto something really special here, and I just hope they get given the time. I know we will move on to the Copenhagen game shortly because it's kind of a double stream here. We're going to preview the game a little bit, but I would like to possibly see Haaland get a break tomorrow night. I'd like to possibly see Julian Alvarez start the game against Copenhagen, but we'll get into all that. But as far as Jack Grealish is concerned, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with that. Any other thoughts on Jack Grealish?
I think he just has to build on it, doesn't he? I think that kind of has to be the thing. We've been saying there could be a push-off point for a while where he just says, fuck it, grabs it by the horns, and that's his moment. I think this could be the time. And again, he came out without a goal contribution. He'd be annoyed if he plays tomorrow. I mean, I can see him doing something anyway.
I think with Grealish, once he starts to get, I don't mean like a goal or assist every single week is what we should be expecting, but once he goes through a period where maybe he gets a goal, 2 goals back to back, or a goal and assist back to back kind of thing, you could see the floodgates open. You could see him start to get more confident in pulling the trigger. Like he said it himself last year, that he was getting into his own head too much. He was afraid to make mistakes, afraid to pull the trigger, because he thought that he just needs to hold the ball and move it on to the next person. He was getting into his own head. But once he relaxes into it and he realizes that he can score goals and he's got it in his locker, I think it's something we can expect. But lads, someone we also need to talk about is Ilkay Gundogan. He was given a tough task. He was given a really tough task of filling Rodri's boots. We know Gundogan is an absolutely fantastic player, but whenever we've seen him play in the 6, or at least a lot of the time we've seen him play in the 6, it's not been what we wanted. In the Champions League final, it's not what we wanted, and it turned out to be that way. It turned out to be disappointing. And then, of course, when he was playing in the double pivot with Rodri in the 2020 season, it was just a complete shambles. So that's why I had my anxieties going into this game. I could see Lewis in the chat saying, Ilkay, baby, my boy. I know Lewis has been an advocate for Ilkay Gundogan for a long, long time. He's Gundogan's biggest fan. But listen, this guy, he's developed his game. He's grown his game probably under the radar, probably without us noticing. Gundo has actually got better and better as the years have gone on. And the biggest comfort I take away from this game in terms of what we learned through injuries and being put in a position where we have to put players out of position, or players who wouldn't be first choice, onto the team sheet, was we now know we don't have to play Rodri every single week. We don't have to over-exhaust or over-exacerbate Rodri every single week, because we know if needs be, I know Calvin Phillips is an option, but he's injured and we don't know when he's going to be properly fit, and he still has to get bed in and get game time and get used to it. But on a big game, if Rodri's not around, Ilkay Gundogan, lads, I'm telling you, this guy can do the job. He played absolutely fantastic. Similar to Grealish, but just further back on the pitch. He controlled the tempo of the game. He did everything that Rodri usually does very well when he plays a good game himself. I'm What do we think about Gundogan? I think he was brilliant.
I thought he saw him really well. I thought there was a bit of when it came to like turning the ball back to United, I thought there was a bit more than that than would have been with Rodri. But you have to take it as it comes. Like, this is a notoriously good attacking midfielder who's sitting in deep because he is the more defensive of the other attacking midfielders we've got. He sat in unbelievably well. It didn't look like there was anything out of place, and he offered that. As more as he turned the ball over to Rodri, he offered that bit of attacking output as well, where he could just bomb forward with. And what I liked is that a lot of the time the Rodri role was kind of covered by one of the two centre halves who'd step into the defence. It was just great. It was some great defensive coverage, and knowing that he had the recovery pace of the two centre backs behind him definitely helped. Like, it was just overall, I mean, we have to give Pep his flowers for this as well, how he set up, how he said, right, we don't have a whole midfielder. I'm gonna compensate for that with two pacey centre backs, where we know if we get caught, we have those two on the recovery. It's fantastic management.
Joe, you've been a fan of Gundogan for a long time as well. What are you saying?
I was more worried about set pieces. I know Martinez is short, and I like calling him short. I like calling him a Smurf, but I was more bothered about the set pieces with Rodri being out, considering that he contributes at both ends. He's one of our tallest players. I think he might genuinely be second or third behind like Haaland, maybe Laporte. I think he might be the same height. I don't know, but he scored a lot of set pieces last year. Like, that's where I think half of his goals came from, and he was good at defending them. So that was an area that I was like, with Gundogan, I wasn't really worried about on the ball. I think he can do the same job as Rodri on the ball, and he proved it as well. He proved that United tried their very hardest to press us, but it very rarely worked. We were so good at beating their press and getting away on a counter-attack. Are you mad? But like, I wasn't worried about him on the ball. I was more worried about, you know, if we give away a set piece or a corner, or I don't know, maybe just the overall defensive part, because his reading of the game is good, but his actual defensive qualities, like his tackling, his strength, isn't there, because he's not, you know, big strong man like Rodri is. But overall, like, in terms of the tactical setup, like, Pep got it spot on. I think it was Sam Lee and Paul Ballas with the Athletic said after the game that, you know, he wanted the two pacey centre backs, and he also wanted a left footer and a right footer to help with that build up play to break the press. And also he knew that Rashford was probably going to start up front, which is why Diaz sat on the bench, which again, it proved to be the right decision. Diaz is probably the slowest out of all of our centre halves, and I would say the least comfortable on the ball. Although, again, like, we have to remember, he's actually the youngest out of all of them, so he has room to develop into that, you know, ball playing centre half that Pep's going to want. But it was the right decision to go with Ake and Akanji, because they dealt with the pace. You know, left footer, right footer gives the balance, and we played out of the press exceptionally well. That's how we essentially destroyed United in that first half, because we've been saying that you need to go toe to toe with us to stand the best chance. But they tried that, and it just hurt them. The amount of times where we'd break the press, Gundogan would turn away, and it'd leave like 4 or 5 United players in our half, and Grealish should pick it up, or De Bruyne would pick it up, and they'd just run with the ball. They'd run at United's back four, and we were away. And all of a sudden, it was panic stations. Where's Haaland at? Where's De Bruyne at? You know, where's Foden in all of this? So the tactical setup was spot on, and I think I wasn't actually too worried with Gundogan. And I think even though Rodri is back in training, maybe you can, you know, give Rodri the luxury of maybe having another game to recover a bit, because Gundogan has proved that he is, you know, can play that role, at least for the time being.
I think it's an interesting one. Because obviously, I don't know if we would have liked to have seen Calvin Phillips in that game, but the fact that basically the takeaway is we now know we can rely on Ilkay Gundogan. Would you agree with that, Rebel?
100%. I mean, again, if you're going to have a player like Phillips, who on his day is fantastic, we know how good Phillips is. We've had the money for Phillips. If you're going to have someone who's going to be in and out, being injured, out of the team, barely getting a run in, it's great to know that you have such a fucking good replacement. And I never thought I would have said Gundogan would have been a good replacement 6, but he's fine for the moment. Maybe in a game like, I don't want to disrespect Copenhagen, but in a game like tomorrow, when you want Rodri to be given maybe a little bit more of a rest, you put Gundogan in that situation. We saw him in these kind of games and group stages before, like when we played Olympiacos. Actually, fun fact, Hugh Murray's birthday, night before Southampton, Hugh Murray, that Olympiacos game. Gundogan sat in the 6, and he controlled the game so well. And that was before his little rebirth when he started scoring goals. So he's always had it in him. We're just getting too comfortable with Rodri, because I think that might be what it is. But again, having such a player, I mean, it leaves it up. It puts another question mark over him, since we don't know if he's going to be here next season.
I mean, I know he's not fit, but we've got to remember that against Wolves, towards the end of the game when the subs came on, John Stones played in that holding midfield role and he did well as well. So, like, we have the options there to go with whoever we so please. I know he's injured at the moment, but, like, he can perform that role as well. Like, it doesn't just have to be someone who is a specialist in that position. We know we have players who can fill in.
Yeah, 100%. But it's good like that. It's really good to have that kind of squad, just knowing that if someone goes and breaks their leg tomorrow, you've got cover everywhere. That's the type of squad you need to win the Champions League. And you know what? Since we're getting on to Champions League, I kind of have to say it. Week by week, I'm getting more confident on that end. On that Champions League, and I'm getting more confident week by week, because it's just... I'm going to jinx... This is going to be the bit fattest fucking jinx ever, but it doesn't look like...
Don't say it.
Premature.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Calm down.
It doesn't look like anyone can stop us.
Listen, the Champions League is a whole different ball game. But listen, we can take comfort from the fact that some of our best players, or some, I don't know about our best players, but some of our players, definitely Haaland being our best player, will get a nice little break. Sorry, excuse me. During the World Cup, so they'll be fresh and ready to go. Hopefully, when hopefully, I know we're not quite there yet, but we should qualify for the knockout stages. So we should be in a good position. But the Champions League, there's clearly a bit of a mental barrier there, or a mental block, or a monkey in the back, whatever you want to say. So that's a whole different ball game. But we'll stick on the United game for the moment, because I think it's time we talk about Haaland in terms of this United game, because we can't.
I suppose we'll have to.
I suppose if you insist, we'll talk about Haaland. I see there's a lot of people in the chat talking about Haaland, and listen, he absolutely stole the show. And I feel bad for Phil Foden, who scored his first hat-trick for Manchester City in a Manchester derby, being a City fan. If Haaland wasn't there, or if anybody else scored the hat-trick, it would have been Phil Foden's day, and all the headlines would have been about Foden. But Haaland steals them. He's on 17 goals now for Manchester City in all competitions, 14 in the Premier League in 8 games. We're witnessing a beast that the Premier League has never seen before. It's a caliber and a profile of footballer that the Premier League's never seen. We've never had a player in or coming into their prime with a profile as big as his in the Premier League, and we're seeing this and we're reaping the rewards, where he's hit the ground running in a way that no one even expected. And I'll say it, I said it before, I'll say it again, me and Joe both said it on a stream a long time ago: suck your mum, Rory Jennings, with your 15 goals, because it's currently the 4th of October. It's currently the 4th of October, and he's 1 goal off leveling that 15 goals you predicted. So you can go fuck yourself with your crap ball knowledge, mate. This guy, he was always destined to do great, but I don't think any of us predicted, lads, that it would be as sweet as it is now. What do you reckon, Joe?
I like how you bring up Rory Jennings, because I've been seeing over the last couple of days.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Listen, I don't know when it was, right? I don't know when it was, but I think it was the other day. They were they're doing a striker tier list on Sky Sports. He said Danny Welbeck to go to the World Cup. Honestly, this fucking guy, man.
He on drugs? Isn't he on spice?
Maybe.
Is he on fucking spice?
Maybe. I don't know.
Give me what he's doing.
It's lads, it's unfair. It's fucking unfair. It's ridiculous. Like, I watch him every week, and I can't tell you how to stop him. Like, it's unfair. It's not fair.
There's a way to stop him. Let's be fair. There's a way to stop him. There's just not a way to stop him. There's just not.
Just finish him.
There is a way to stop him, but you can't stop everyone else around them. That's what Bournemouth found out.
Yeah, the Bournemouth test. He failed the Bournemouth test. I mean, the only way I guess you could time travel and try and kick Alfie in the balls instead of the knee, Roy Keane. That might work.
That was so funny. That was so funny.
Honestly, how do you stop this guy? The man is unbelievable. He's got the second top goal scorer is Harry Kane, who probably feels a bit hard done by, considering he's already fucking on half the amount of goals as this Norwegian bloke.
Well, yeah, on a normal season, Harry Kane's current goal tally is class. It's class. Yeah. What is he on? Seven goals.
Seven goals.
Seven goals on a normal Premier League season. That's absolutely class. But Haaland has just said, "Nah, fuck that. I'm going to double that." Like, it's
He's
absolutely
9. He's 9 away from last season's Golden Boot tally, and we have 30 games left. Fucking hell.
Here, can you run a poll for me? Can you run a poll for me?
I will. What do you want it to be?
Will he get 40 in the league?
Oh my good Christ.
Just league.
40 goals in the Premier League. Well, the current record is what, 32 by Mo Salah?
32 by Mo Salah, but I don't know. That's in a 38 game. That's a 38 game season.
So, how many games is this season?
There's a 42 game record from back like before
Ages
football.
ago. The Premier League record is still 32 though. 'Cause it's,
I hear he's pissing on that. I'm sorry, man. I'm pissing on that.
I mean,
listen, I'm not going to put it out, and he's pissing on that. But as well, in the same breath, I kind of have to ask is, I know you already gave your opinion on it, but since myself and Joe have a little bit of a reputation, right? Is he breaking that record?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but again, I hate to use this term, but he's gonna piss all
unless
over.
he shatters his leg into 4 pieces against either of the Copenhagen games, right? He's breaking that record. He's on 8 already. He got 30 games to get 13 assists. Are you mad? What is going on?
I just don't know what you do to stop Haaland at the minute. And, you know, like the United fans even have their own little narratives. They keep doing this to themselves, Man United. They keep shooting themselves in the foot and setting themselves up for embarrassment. But all week it was, when Ajax played Dortmund in last season, Martinez pocketed Haaland. And I said this in the stream in our preview. I said, just because he didn't score does not mean he was pocketed. Pocketing is a very, very strong term. It means the defender was simply all over the attacker. And I just refuse to believe that. I just refuse to believe that Martinez was all over him. I think Haaland just didn't score, and Martinez happened to be the centre half in the day, and United fans went, oh, he's done it before, he can do it again. Have you lads seen the compilations going around Twitter of Haaland literally throwing Martinez around like a rag doll? He looked, when you say fucking, he was a little hobbit, a Frodo, whatever you want to call him, he was just thrown around like a toy. Haaland made an absolute joke out of him. He was just a bully. He was just an absolute bully of the highest order. And we now know from Haaland as well, what we've learned from this game. We've learned so much about so many players off that game, but we now know Haaland is not just one of these players. I never had any doubts about this. I never thought this was the case, but we know now for certain Haaland is a big game player. Haaland is a big game player. He doesn't just score hat-tricks against Nottingham Forest or Crystal Palace and whatnot, and then when the big games come along, he goes hiding or he struggles a bit more, the pressure gets to him. This guy has a cold mentality. Nothing phases this guy. You tell him all week, 2 weeks before he's facing Martinez, as if that was ever going to be a scary prospect for him. Or all this talk, there's no way he wasn't hearing the noise about, Haaland or Alfie Haaland and Roy Keane and all these little side narratives going into this game. This guy doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck. He says something special's brewing. Just watch. Tune into Sky Sports. Go to your seat in the stadium, wherever you plan on watching. Just trust me, something special's happening. And for a 22-year-old to have that cold mentality where just nothing phases him, it's scary. I know we joked around for a long time before we signed Haaland, and we still have to this day, that he's made in a lab. He just has the attributes, like the best attributes of so many great players of the past, like the mindset of one great player, the finishing ability of one great player, the strength of another great player. He's the best. He's the most complete striker I think I've ever seen. And at the age of 22. Lads, I don't even know what more you can say. I don't know how much more you can bring. Varane got bullied off the pitch. Dara says you're absolutely right. Varane pulled a Varane bitched out. Varane saw they were losing 3-0 and was like, hell fucking no am I attaching my name to this big Champions League Varane. No. The ligaments are gone. Can you get me off, please? Yeah, bit of that. Get me off.
I want to say something on the whole Haaland front, right? I remember myself and Joe were fairly FM enthusiasts, football manager enthusiasts.
Oh, good Christ.
Some might say, right? We always said that when he turned around and hit 40 goals a season and that it was completely unrealistic. It'll never happen. I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game.
40. You went on the low side. Mine hit 70. Mine hit 70 goals in FM. The man is on course to do that in real life. Like, it's a complete joke. He's come away from a Manchester derby. 5 goal involvements. Are you joking?
Also, actually, there's another thing he said, 5 goal involvements, right? Remember when we were signing Kane? It was he can drop into the false line, drop into the channels. He can do fucking everything. Haaland has more assists.
Fella
than
put in
Kane.
a cross and got an assist.
Yeah, fella putting a cross and got an assist, right? If you're looking at Kane now, I was doing the same. I was licking my lips when we were linked to Kane, but having Haaland there, who can also turn around and get an assist, is phenomenal. It's absolutely class. And I actually said at the start, I was watching my granddad, I was watching my uncle, right? When he was dropping into the midfield, I was kind of like, I don't like that, because he was dropping into a 6 at times to pick up the ball. I was like, I really don't like that. Fuck me. Again, I wasn't familiar with the game. It was unreal, because it just gave, again, having those overlapping fullbacks, having the wingers being able to drop inside, everything just went.
It's another point from the Athletic, though, wasn't it? After the game,
Yes.
Sam Lee, Paul Ballas saying
Ballas,
that Pep Guardiola wanted him to actually drop deep and get more involved. And I think, again, tactics. He's the genius. He's the bear. He's the goat man. Pep. He's the goat man. Do you see that defensive line? I think it was highlighted on Monday Night Football by Jamie Carragher, actually. That United defensive line were 5-10 yards deeper than they should have been, just because they were absolutely fucking terrified of this 6'5" Norwegian bloke. So the man basically went, right, instead of me hanging off them because they're already going back to their own goal before I've even got the ball, let me just drop deep and get involved. And it's like, oh, what do we do here? We've got no one to mark. And again, it works. He's Pep. He's the greatest, man. I trust him with my life. Well, unless it's like Champions League final, then maybe not. But apart from that, yeah.
I saw there was a chance. It was the one where Haaland went near post, and I think he either hit the post or went wide either way. I went out for a goal kick, right? It was De Gea's near post, and he ran off. He ran in behind, and it was like the whole line was perfect. United's line was perfect. Martinez keeping him completely onside over kind of the left-hand territory, completely onside, tracking him because he didn't want him to get away. He still got away. He didn't score, but he still got away from him and nearly scored. Like, it was United being pulled apart. And again, I think it was even though I said I wasn't entirely comfortable with it, it was him dropping deep that just kind of made them shit themselves. Because again, he got the ball on the halfway line, I remember, and Martinez went through the back of him. Martinez went through the back of him about a second after Bruno got a card, and nothing happened.
I think the most obvious example of what you're talking about, Joe, about how frightened they were of Erling Haaland was, I think it was Foden's hat-trick goal. It was the hat-trick goal was the one where they weren't sure if it was offside or onside for a second, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it was just, or I think it was Grealish gave the ball to Haaland, and then
Tried bringing it out of play.
Yeah, it's just Haaland and Foden against about 6 Man United defenders, and Haaland is just given acres of space.
There's a big fuck off hole in the middle.
Yeah, a big fuck off hole in the middle. Haaland's in acres of space. They're all standing off and going, "Oh fuck, here he comes! What do we do? What do we do?" And then he goes, right, I see Philip Walter walking through there. I'll give it to him, and Foden smashed in the back of the net. When we say frightened, they were frightened with a capital F of Erling Haaland. It was genuinely what I'm saying. What the fuck do we do? Here he comes. And it would, like, I think if he hadn't scored the 3 goals, or if he hadn't scored at all, but he'd still got the assist for Foden's first or second goal, the one where he put a brilliant ball across on the left. I can't remember which goal that was. The second, was it? We'd be talking about that assist. We'd be saying that was a world-class assist. When we talk about putting a ball into the corridor of uncertainty, he did that with pinpoint accuracy, because it puts the defenders, these world-class defenders, by the way, Varane and Martinez, in a situation whereby they don't know if they should attack the ball because they're afraid to stick it in their own net. They don't know should they stick tight to Foden, the oncoming attacker. They don't know whether they should go towards the ball. They don't know what to do. Haaland showed that he's not just a finisher. He also reads the game brilliantly. He's got great vision. He can spot a pass, and he has the accuracy to do so. The only small thing Haaland can improve on, and he will improve on, I promise he'll improve on it, is just his first touch. It's simply his first touch. His first time finishing is absolutely second to none. His first time finishing, second to none. His ability to pick out a pass and get an assist, as we saw against United, is also absolutely world class. And now it's just a matter of making sure he can get the ball stuck to his feet. I think what we saw and what we've learned about Haaland is, well, we already knew he was a world-class finisher. We now know he can spot a ball to get an assist, and he can also do a bit of playmaking. We have a serious beast in our hands, big game player, Erling Haaland. Listen, I'll see what the people are saying, and Curtis, we will get onto that. I want to talk about Ronaldo slightly, because I think there's a little bit of conversation we had about Cristiano Ronaldo, and we just like it laughing at Man United, don't we? What are we saying about Haaland? Erling Frankenstein Haaland says Russ Beard. He's only scored hat-tricks. I like this one from Odis. He's only scored hat-tricks against small clubs like Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest and Man United. Need him to do it against the top side. Listen, he's got Liverpool, doesn't he, in 2 weeks' time? So let's see, can he put Van Dijk in a spliff as well? I don't see why not. I think that there's not one centre half in the world comes to my mind right now that I'd go, yeah, this guy could actually give Haaland some real trouble. And maybe, even though I've not seen a huge amount of him, Saliba at Arsenal, he looks like a pretty good centre half at the minute. He looks like he's developing nicely and he's settled back into his Arsenal team quite well. So maybe he could do a decent job. I don't know what you guys in the chat think of Saliba against Haaland. I know we were due to see that this month, but it's been postponed, I think, until January they're talking about, so we won't actually see it till then. City Arsenal, regardless, will probably be a blockbuster of a game. Rolls Royce Varane, more like Fiat Punto. Dennis, you got that one off big.
Okay, fantastic. I like that.
Fiat Punto Varane.
It's unbelievable.
There's people talking about Ronaldo. His odds to get a hat trick tomorrow are 4-1. I hope he doesn't play tomorrow. I hope Haaland doesn't play and just save him for Southampton. I think, without getting too ahead of ourselves, we could, if we keep playing and keep growing into the season the way we are, we could win this Premier League early. We could. Fingers crossed. I'm not trying to jinx it. We could. So I'd like to accumulate as many wins and as many points as possible at this stage of the season, and then hopefully bring it into the second half of the season and maybe win the Premier League early. But you never know. Football's a funny game, and there will come challenges. Big challenges will come our way. Like I said, this was the first top 6 team we've played against. Am I being a bit sound giving them top 6 status? I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's the first top 6 team we played against. I would like to have played against Tottenham, and I still think that'll be a great game as well. But listen, yeah, Haaland loves goals and UCL. Don't play him, man. Don't play him against Copenhagen. But we will talk about Copenhagen in a few minutes. Guys, please talk about Bernardo and how important he is in the team. Yeah, what do we think about Bernardo Silva against Man United?
Unbelievable. His coverage is just great. I mean, I let Joe kind of bounce on it because I've said so much about him before. He's everything. He makes us tick.
That 5-1-4 again. I have to bring it back. Final 15 minutes when we're playing a back five and one sole midfielder. Like, again, we did against Chelsea a couple of years ago where that awful Aguero penalty. I remember that game. You never, ever forget that game. But same thing, we had a back five and Bernardo Silva was just the only guy in the middle of the pitch. And I know he does a job of 2 players at times, but that's taking the piss. Like, that's why we conceded twice at the end. But, like, he was everywhere. He was left, right. He was running the show. He always runs the show. Like, this is something that we shouldn't get at all used to. We should enjoy it while he's here because the man is going to be off in the summer. But enjoy it while he's here. And he has, again, he has the effect on the game. And I think that between him and Gundogan, they did a good defensive job when they were both on the pitch together. They only conceded the one, and that was the absolute screamer. So, like, again, defensively, they are capable. They can do their roles. They can do so many roles. I mean, but Bernardo Silva can play anywhere. Stick him anywhere. Stick him in goal. It doesn't matter. Just stick him anywhere. But, you know, I think, again, unsung hero. I think he came away with the one assist. So, again, it's like he's another guy who you have to watch to appreciate. He doesn't come out with loads of numbers all the time, but he still runs the show most of the time. Like, you still notice him if you watch him. So, yeah, I mean, there's not really much I can say. He's turned it into a silent operator, really. Like, I know his numbers are actually really, really good this season. They're probably, like, at least for this stage in the season, they're probably some of the best numbers he's ever had in terms of, like, assists. I'm pretty sure he's up there. I know De Bruyne is so far clear, but I think Bernardo Silva in the league is up there for assists. So, yeah, like, it's unbelievable that the man who doesn't normally get too many numbers is still getting a lot of numbers.
I think with Bernardo, he's an opposition midfielder's worst nightmare. He really is. Any midfielder in the world would not want to play against Bernardo Silva. And we saw that with Bruno and Eriksen, who are 2 players that don't cover a huge amount of ground, particularly Bruno Fernandes. They don't cover crazy kilometers every game. Like we see regularly with Bernardo Silva. He'll cover 14, 15 kilometers of ground in one game, which is absolutely crazy. But for a midfielder to get the better of his opposite number on the pitch, he needs to at the very least match the energy and intensity of his opposite number. And there's just no midfielder in the world when Bernardo's fully on form is going to match the energy and intensity of Bernardo Silva. You'll just feel like you're chasing shadows. I mean, put Bernardo into a crap team, he'll still be tough to mark. He'll still be tough to get a hold of. But put him into a team like ours where he has world-class players around him who understand his game and they all work together. Like De Bruyne and Bernardo, who played so long together for now, will know each other inside out. He's just an absolute nightmare for midfielders, Rebel.
100%, because again, he has that effort, he has that just drive about him. No one's stopping him. Like you said, there's nobody who matches his output on it when he's on it. When he is on it, he is the best midfielder in the world, and I will say that for sure. Because again, he offers these really good numbers that he's been putting up. He offers energy. He offers someone who can cover anywhere in the pitch. If a left back goes running up, you best believe there's a counter attack. Bernardo's there. He's unbelievable. Like again, it's going to be such like a dampener when this when he eventually leaves. I'm sorry, I have to go on.
Do we actually think he's leaving next summer though? Like,
Yeah.
is that for certain that he's leaving next summer? Can you guys in the chat please give me your thoughts and your opinions? Is Bernardo actually leaving next summer? Does he want to leave that badly? Has he said he wants to leave next summer, or are we just assuming he wants to leave?
He still wants to leave. He still wants to get off. Like it's just a matter of, you know, how fucking arsey your Barcelona gonna be. I mean, listen, you still owe us 50 million euros for Ferran Torres, cheeky bastards. Like, pay them fucking money. If you want the player, pay the money. That's Bernardo Silva still wants off. I think that's clear. Unless he turns around and says otherwise.
Those cheeky bastards still owe us about 50 million for Ferran Torres. They've only paid 3 million for Ferran Torres. Give us our fucking cash, you pricks. They're absolute wankers.
Right.
How have they not paid for Ferran Torres yet? Lewis says, I think he's gone next summer if the bid comes in. But what is the bid? I mean, he'll have 2 years left in his deal by next summer. What will we be looking for him? About 80?
I think
we're not
the rumours were 80. I think that the stuff coming out was 80, and it was like upfront. Like, we're not doing this installment shite that we're doing with Ferran Torres. Like, you're giving us the money, and you are giving us the money now. We're going to go out and sign a replacement if he goes.
I just don't know why we would accept 80 million either. We're not a club that's stuck for cash. Let's call a spade a spade. We don't need the money for Bernardo Silva. If I was in our boardroom right now, I'd be saying, well, let's hold on to him for another year. Let him get down to 1 year and, you know, accept the fact that we're not going to get the same money for him, or we'll get a lot less than we would have got from, you know, with 2 years left in his contract. But what he brings to our team is probably worth that extra 40 million anyway for another season. I don't know. What do you think about Bernardo's contract situation, Rebel?
That's not what the board are going to think, though, is it?
No.
Like,
No,
they're
it's
gonna
not. It's not. Because Barcelona will come in and say, we'll give you 50 million, and Cheeky will go, yeah, fuck it, go on. And you can pay it to us in 10 years' time.
I think it's a matter of not being able to keep someone there as well. Like, I don't think he's a type to down tools, but you never know if he's put in that kind of fight or flight situation. You might see what'll happen, but can't really keep someone who's unhappy. And again, Pep will always turn around and say, if someone's unhappy, you can go. I don't want them in the team. I don't see. Thing is, though, I think Bernardo's been the only kind of example of it the last couple of years where it's public knowledge he kind of wants to leave, but he's been kept in there. So it just kind of speaks to the level he's at.
I think Bernardo, from what we've heard about his interactions with the rest of the dressing room and the club on that situation, is yes, he would kind of like to move away, but I think he's also made it extremely clear that while he's at Manchester City, he will not down tools. He will still give 110% every single time he goes out. And he's also that good that you kind of just want to play him. I mean, in fairness to Pep, when we kind of thought Bernardo might get off and the summer just gone, he didn't play. He didn't start. I don't think he started against West Ham. He definitely didn't start against Bournemouth. And these were while the transfer window was still open. It's only when the transfer window closed and he was kind of, you know, contractually stuck with us, if you like. He got his starts in the games again, and that's when he probably made it clear. He was like, listen, I know the word is that I want to leave, and yes, I probably do want to leave if the right time or the right offer comes my way and the club are happy enough with it, but I won't down tools. I promise every single time I step on that pitch, I'll give 100%. And I think that is the kind of player Bernardo is, whereas, you know, at other clubs, when a player wants to get off, you know, they'll down tools. They'll make it very clear they're not happy. They'll make it very clear they're disinterested. I don't see that in Bernardo Silva's personality, and I don't know, maybe, you know, if we're not winning the Champions League, maybe he'll stay on for another season because he probably feels that this is the best place, the best chance he has of winning the Champions League. Going to Barcelona, I'm sorry, you're not going to win a Champions League. Did they lose to Inter Milan tonight? I'm pretty sure they did.
Well, no.
Yeah, they're not going to win a Champions League. They're a club in disarray. They're a club that don't know what they're doing in the transfer market. They're just buying players they think they can throw in. They're doing what Man United have done for the past 10 years, is buying 1, 2, 3, 4, big names or decent individual players, and not players that will build a system or help them build a team that can grow and develop and move forward and hopefully build over a long period of time. So I just don't see why he would go there. I think in terms of success, there's no better club in the world right now to be at the Manchester City, and that's probably why he hasn't put a huge amount of pressure to leave. I think if Bernardo was playing for even Liverpool or Man United or Arsenal or Chelsea, he probably would have banged on the owner's door and said, listen, let me out, I want to go. It's only because of the infrastructure we have at Manchester City being so good, the whole setup is so good, the manager's so good, the players are so good, that he's probably not absolutely desperate to leave, even though he might like one. I don't know. I think the Bernardo situation...
That's public knowledge as well. There was a piece of news coming out that while he still wants to leave for, personal reasons in terms of climate and weather and stuff like that, that he accepts that City is still the best place in terms of, football reasons. Like, he still accepts that while he still wants to leave, he knows he's at the best place for footballing reasons. Like, that is also public knowledge.
Lewis says there's no decent chicken shops in Barcelona either, which is obviously a very good point. If there's no decent chicken shops, why the fuck are you going to Barcelona? Do you know what I mean? Get down to the local chicken shop in Stockport or whatever and tell me that that's not worth staying for, Bernardo. But Lewis, I think Lewis as well, or someone made a good point here. If Jude is available and we can get him and we get a deal for 80 million for Bernardo, they'll send it, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Jude Bellingham is the obvious replacement. He's the obvious player. He's young, he's up and coming, and I think with how good we've seen Bellingham, I will say I think Bellingham is slightly overrated. I think the world's football media and the football fans seem to think Jude Bellingham is currently one of the best in the business, or he's exceptional. I don't agree. I think he's a fantastic young talent. I think he's got amazing potential, and there's probably no other better manager in the world to help him maximize that potential right now than Pep Guardiola. We've seen what Pep Guardiola has got out of some great players we've brought in. We've brought in Cancelo. He was a great player with Juventus. We brought in Mahrez, a great player with Leicester City. And there's so many more. And he's turned them into, on their day, world class players. And I don't see why he can't do the same with Jude Bellingham. I suppose before we move on to the Copenhagen thing, what do we think about the Jude Bellingham thing? We watched a bit of him with England last week. I think I was fairly impressed, even though I think England's setup, we went over that actually in quite a bit of depth last week, that we don't like England and the way they play football. But Jude Bellingham, I think, has proved he has the capacity. Could you imagine a midfield tree of Rodri, Jude Bellingham, and Kevin De Bruyne? I think there's real potential there.
I think Joe knows a bit more about Bellingham than me. I let him on the floor.
Oh,
hang on, Joe, before you go on, can I just say one quick thing? There's about 40 people in the building right now. Make sure you've all hit the like button. It helps the stream, it helps the channel. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers right now, and every single like, every single hit of the subscribe button massively helps us. We really appreciate all of you coming in. We appreciate you guys getting involved. A lot of regular faces, a lot of the same people coming in all the time, a lot of new faces joining as well. So just make sure you've hit the like button. It's free to do. And Joe, proceed with what you're going to say about Jude Bellingham.
I know more, do I? Well, I never. I don't know about that one.
You know more than me. You know more than me, bro.
I don't know about that one. I was the one here last week during that international break who sat here and said I thought he was a little bit overrated, to be honest, and that raised a few eyebrows, didn't it? I still think I still haven't watched him yet since I've said that. I'm hoping to try and catch a Dortmund game at some point. I know he captained them the other week, the weekend maybe. I forget exactly.
Weekend, I think, yeah.
Listen, he's still captained them, which again, he's 19 and he's been the captain. Whoa. I think the perfect place for him to come is here. Like, we've seen what's happened with Foden in terms of his development. The players that Foden has been surrounded by. He caught sort of the very, very, very end of Yaya Touré's career. David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan, those sorts of players. He's been around them players. He's played on the wings, so he's been learning from the likes of Mahrez, Sterling when he was here. If Bellingham comes in here, it's going to be a similar thing. Like, we don't know what shape our midfield is going to be in next season. Like, we genuinely don't know. Is Gundogan going to stay on? He's club captain. Is Bernardo going to be off? Are Barcelona going to actually pay the fucking money? But what we do know is Kevin De Bruyne will still be here, so he can learn off him still. Foden as well, in terms of the national team, obviously he knows who he is, and Foden can possibly pass down some of his knowledge from the people that he's learned from. Grealish as well. And again, at international level, like, it's not particularly stacked in his area. Like, who's he going to be learning off at international level? Jordan Henderson, get over it. But I think it's a thing that I have about former managers, the good ones, the very, very, very top level ones, especially of recent, seem to be ex-midfielders because they have an understanding for the game. They have a better understanding of the game than, strikers or defenders because, being a midfielder, especially like a Pep Guardiola who sits there and anchors the midfield, you need to have incredible knowledge of the game. You need to have incredible awareness. So I think, being coached midfielder to midfielder, but Pep could, leave some knowledge there for him. I don't know. I think that genuinely this would be the place that his development could skyrocket again. I don't know exactly what he's good at. I don't know exactly what he's poor at. That's why I think he's a little bit overrated because everyone goes on about he's this world-class player already, but I don't really see it. I've only ever seen him play against us and he scored a goal. He scored 2 goals actually. He got that one disallowed, but I don't know. I don't really see what everyone's been going so mad about. I genuinely think I just need to watch more of him to understand what he's so good about because I don't get it. I don't get it at this moment in time. Maybe I'm just completely oblivious. Maybe I know nothing. Maybe I'm the stupid one here, but I don't see it because I haven't watched him enough. Like I think that I don't know. I've watched other players and made my mind up about them. Like I've watched Rafael Leao and I already know he's a baller. I haven't watched Jude Bellingham enough. Like I need to watch him more. I don't know enough. Like even if I do know more than you, like I still know relatively little. From what I can pick up, he's good on the ball, so he'll suit a Pep Guardiola system. But that's the only thing that I can pick up. I can't pick up anything more in detail than that, than just, on the ball, he's pretty good in terms of dribbling and passing. He's good at those things, so he'd probably fit right in.
Thing for me with Bellingham, it's not a case of I just want what he already has and I want that drop straight into my team and just bring that, which is kind of what we said with Haaland, isn't it? We knew Haaland was a lethal striker and that's what we needed. Just bring that and drop that into our team and do your thing. Even though Pep does have plans to improve Haaland's overall game, what he already had coming into the team was so good that you say, yeah, just plot it in there and do your thing. With Bellingham, it's more of a case of the potential you see with Jude Bellingham and what he can grow into and the player he can become. He has some similar qualities to Bernardo in the sense that Jude Bellingham has an endless tank. He can run all day. He's box to box. He can finish as well. Even though Bernardo probably is a slightly technically better football, a better touch and lower centre of gravity and all that kind of thing, all those small little things that add up, Bernardo probably has over Bellingham. But, I know how many times we need to say Jude Bellingham's only 19. We know it's been thrown down your throats enough. He's only 19 years old. And to be playing at the level he is right now at the age of 19 and showing the maturity and still with room for crazy potential, I think he'd be a perfect suit. Obviously, there's going to be a big race between ourselves. I would like to think anyway. I think the word is we are going to be involved in some sort of a race for Jude Bellingham with Liverpool. I think Real Madrid will probably throw their name in the hat, and sure, Chelsea and United will get involved.
Romano did a video, and on the thumbnail. Now I know thumbnails can be clickbait. Trust me, I know this experience. But the 5 teams that were on the thumbnail when Romano was on about Bellingham, it was City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Real Madrid. So make of that what you will.
I think we'll go in. I think we'll go in a lot from. I'm not saying we'll break the bank from, but I think we'll put plenty of pressure on the situation and see what we can get out of it. Especially if we're to lose Bernardo Silva. I still hold a bit of hope that Bernardo will stay. But I think I lean more towards he'll leave as well at the same time. But if we lose Bernardo Silva, I can see us going in heavily for Jude Bellingham, and I just don't see why he wouldn't come to City, and that's me taking off my City hat and not being too biased. I don't see why he wouldn't come. And I don't know if this is just paper talk, but I've read a lot that Haaland has already spoken to Bellingham and bigged up City and said you should come and play for City and whatnot. And these things, they are only human. These things matter. When you have your former best mate who just left your club, who you had a good period of time playing with him, is ringing you saying, listen, I'm scoring hat-tricks for fun here. This team is on to serious winners here. We know we could do something really special here. Come here. It is kind of hard for Bellingham to say no, but like I said on a stream previously, Grizz said to me when I was over in London last week that Bellingham wants to play for Liverpool, and apparently his dad's a big Liverpool fan, and I don't know how much I buy into that. But there you go. I don't see why he wouldn't come to see. Like, I keep banging on about the infrastructure of our club and all the all the incentives to play for Manchester City. I don't see why he wouldn't come. I think it's just a case of us offering Dortmund the correct money and offering Bellingham wages that he just can't really refuse, that Liverpool simply can't offer. I think the two top dogs in the race is ourselves and Liverpool, and financially we can blow them out of the water. And I also think everything else about our club blows them out of the water. But listen, someone makes a good point here just to finish up the topic of Bernardo leaving and replacements and whatnot. Lethabo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says winning the Champions League would be bittersweet because the players would have achieved everything possible by then and will look for new challenges. If we fail, it makes them hungrier to stay and try again. That's just the thing you'll probably find. I hope it's not the case, but when we do win a Champions League, I'm not saying all the players who've been here for a long time, but some of them will come to the conclusion, I've done it now. I've completed my medal collection. Maybe it's time to go to a new climate, a new league, a new place, and try something new. And that's just natural. We've seen that now with Liverpool. They have won everything. Mane said, I want to try something new, and he got off. And I think that will happen for us when we win our Champions League in some shape or form. But listen, lads, we may as well be live for like well over an hour now. We may as well talk a bit about the game tomorrow night. Just to conclude on Man United, we took the piss. We made an embarrassment to Manchester United. You got absolutely humbled. Hold those 6 goals and we'll see you for another training session in the swamp in January. Champions League is back, lads. Tomorrow night we travel to Denmark to play FC Copenhagen. Denmark is not a place that I would be particularly arsed going for an away trip. Why? Because it's so expensive. But we have to go there. We have to pick up the 3 points. We're doing very well in the Champions League so far. Well, maybe not against Dortmund, but we still showed great character to win that game. Seville, we took the piss out there. Haaland was absolutely class out there as well. It was a great team performance against Seville out there. And this would take us up to 9 points. You'd think with 9 points, you have pretty well secured qualification. At that point, it is just about fighting for top spot and getting yourself that stereotypically or, led to believe that it'll be an easier draw in the last 16. So this is an important game. This is an absolutely important game. And how do we feel about this competition being back? What do we want to see? What are we expecting? Will there be a bit of a come down from the big win on Sunday? Or will we show great character and rise to the occasion again?
This, just so I can put you, why this is not Copenhagen. This is not Copenhagen. This is the Copenhagen game.
Shush, man.
The Copenhagen game. I just said I'd get it in.
He thought it was Copenhagen until I told him like a couple of days ago that we're actually at home first.
I thought it was the
Copenhagen. It's the Copenhagen game.
These stupid terms, man. Okay, Copenhagen at home then. Copenhagen, whatever he says.
The Copenhagen game, right, is what it is. I'm looking forward to it. If we win this, it opens out the branch of you can take it easier in the Champions League. Like we have done every year. It gives you the whole you can take it a bit easier now, experiment if you want. But I think now I could be crazy. Yeah. I think he'll go full strength tomorrow. I think he'll get Rodri back in. I don't think he wants to break out with Haaland. He's not going to start Mahrez because I saw a press conference quote that said until he's in good physical shape, he's not getting back in. So he's called Mahrez fat. Who else? I'm not calling Mahrez fat, by the way. I was taking a quote. I don't know. I think he'll go full strength. I think he'll want to blow them out of the water. I think we could see Laporte get a little game in. I think we finally get 90 minutes in. We saw Roger back in training. He'll be back in if I had to guess. And yeah, I think he'll want to blow them out of the water just to turn around and say, right, we're going to Southampton. I'd like to say Southampton on the weekend. Yeah. We want to go in fire and we want to go in win them. United's not enough. We want to take this Copenhagen game and put it to bed.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say full strength because that is not the predicted 11.
I didn't even see the predicted 11, but I was just going on.
No, I make all the predicted 11 and the player range now because they're just kind of filler. It's just to talk about things to, get the chat active. But I think that he won't risk Rodri. I think it'll be the opposite. I think he'll give him another game going, listen, look, if the worst of the worst happens and we don't win, so be it. We've got another 3 games left to qualify. I'd rather have him, we've got Liverpool in 2 weeks. So I'd rather have Rodri then fit for that game. And I think, to be honest, the player that I am most 50-50 on starting or not right as of right now is Haaland. I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea whether the guy's going to start or not. Do I want him to? No. I would start Alvarez. I think Alvarez should be given a chance in this sort of game because I don't see where he's going to get, given one. in the future. And Haaland just needs a bit of a break. You know, you can afford to give him maybe a game and get him back in for Southampton. You know, for Liverpool coming up. Liverpool is the big one, regardless of their form. It is the big one. It's like United, form goes out the window when you play Liverpool. You know, the team that turns up on the day will win. So I would rest Haaland, but he's in the predicted 11 because I don't have a clue. Like, it's Pep. He could go full strength. He could call Mahrez fat and then start him. I don't know what's going to happen. I genuinely have no idea. Laporte could play because he needs minutes.
He just will go full strength.
He'll go as full strength as he wants to. Which again, I don't know whether Rodri falls into that. He didn't necessarily say in his press conference if he was fit or not. He said he was back in training, but they would decide on his fitness afterwards, which was after the press conference. So we genuinely have no idea. All we know is Walker's out because he's an absolute idiot at the moment and keeps trying to play on one leg and then injures himself. It's completely stupid. And Sergio Gomez did the media duties, so I imagine that's who's going to take his place, because the person who's normally on the media duties pre-game with Pep usually starts. So I'm really excited for that one. If Sergio Gomez does start, I'm really excited. He came off the bench. He got an assist in the derby. Another City fan himself. I'm excited to see more of him. Because again, he's another player. He's in a similar bracket to Alvarez right now. You don't know when he's next going to get his chance, because he doesn't seem to be trusted in the top. The biggest games. Like, he came on against United because we were 4-0 up, 3-0 up when he came on. I don't know when he's going to get his chance, but Pep being Pep will just literally go, yeah, strongest team. I don't care about injuries. Let's go in. Because we could qualify. I've worked this out. There's the scenarios. If Dortmund beat Sevilla and we beat Copenhagen, we are through. We are through to the knockout stage already. Done and dusted. We're not top, but we're through. If we beat Copenhagen twice and Sevilla and Dortmund draw and Sevilla get a win in one of them games, then we are through top of the group. That is, the simplest of things.
I think on the squad selection, we all kind of agreed that we would prefer not to see a full strength squad. I know Curtis says give Ortega a game. That's maybe a possibility. You could see Ortega and not play Ederson, although I don't think that's what'll happen. As footballing men, all of us, and maybe girls in the chat as well, but us lads in the chat on the stream here, we would like to see Haaland get a rest on the basis of what I said. I'd like us to rest him for Southampton. For me, Southampton's actually a bigger game. It's actually a bigger game this week, Southampton on the weekend. Pick up the 3 points in the Premier League, because we're going to qualify for the Champions League last 16. I can't see us not, and that's me trying to say that as humbly as possible. So I would like to see Alvarez get that number 9 shirt on tomorrow night against Copenhagen, but I just don't see it. We know Pep, and Pep doesn't leave any room for risk. He just doesn't. He will not stop playing his full strength team until what he wants, whether that's just qualification or top spot, whatever it is he wants, until that is secured, like done and dusted, can't be changed, he won't stop playing his best 11 players available. And just because of injury, we don't actually know who the best 11 players are available. I kind of lean towards what Joe was suggesting, that I think he'll probably still give Rodri that extra bit of rest, because he's done one training session, I think that was today, since he didn't play against Man United and they said he was injured. I don't think it would be the best idea to play Rodri. As you said, Gomez on media duty. That would lead you to believe Gomez is starting at least, so he'll play on the left, Cancelo on the right. I don't know, will he go with Ake and Akanji again, or will he just throw Diaz back in? My guess is he'll throw Diaz back in. It's so hard to predict. Obviously you made that starting 11, so anybody who disagrees with any of our starting 11s ever, always blame the guy below me right now.
Yeah. I get the blame. Yeah,
he makes them. But this is me and Rebel's first time seeing this predicted starting 11, and I think I agree with it. I think I agree with it based on what we know of Pep Guardiola. But do I agree with it? Would I predict that? Would I start that 11 myself? If Pep rings me tomorrow afternoon and says, Hugh, this is the team sheet, what do you think? Will I make any changes? I will say, listen, Josep, respectfully, I would like you to make a few changes. But unfortunately, me and Pep don't know each other like that. We're not boys like that. Rebel, Rebel, what do you think of the predicted starting 11? What would you do with it?
What would I do with it? I'd like to bring up a point. I actually do think it was Lewis. It could have been Jordan who said it on their account, but it was do you risk taking Haaland out and breaking up momentum? I'm in both camps, but I'm also in your camp in the sense I don't want that man to break his leg. But we saw.
Jump in before we continue. I don't think momentum is a thing for Haaland. I don't think it exists. I don't think momentum is something that
It's not programmed.
helps him. Yeah, it's not in the motherboard. The motherboard doesn't do that. The SD card, the capture card, whatever it is in his system. Momentum isn't a thing. He just turns on, turns off. You know, when you press the button on your PlayStation remote to turn, and it goes beep beep beep, and it turns on. That's all he does before the game. He doesn't have momentum. He doesn't care if he didn't play last week or he didn't score last week. He still thinks he's going to score 3 today. But listen, I agree with you in principle.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm in the same thing as you. I don't really think if he gets excuse me, I don't think if he gets a break in games, it's going to affect him. I think he's just too good. But if we're to make that change, to take Haaland out, I want to see Alvarez. I want to see Alvarez badly. Like, you know, I mean, he got his little cameo in the derby, ran at man, didn't do much else really, because again, it was just dead by the time he came on. He needs to get a bit of a. I'm not even pushing being nervous, but he needs to get a bit of a run eventually, I think, whether it's even just coming on regularly or starting a couple of games here and there. He has to get on more often. But I'm not going to turn around and question Guardiola. I've seen it too many times before where he's like, I'm doing this and it's going to work out for the best. Like, I remember a few years ago when we were saying about Foden should have started. Look at the cunt now. The man's tearing up.
You know what game I expect Alvarez to start in? Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. I expect Alvarez to start over Haaland, but Haaland will be on the bench on the basis that if emergency or crisis arises, you can bring him on and hope he scores a goal. But we know that it's only really the Carabao where you see Pep make those changes that he wouldn't otherwise do in the Champions League or the Premier League. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I think so too. You'll need to get like Ortega will obviously be playing in that. Like
Goalkeeper, let's go.
Let's go. We never ever worked out properly.
Nice, fucked us for the last couple of years.
Like Mahrez will get a few runs in that, especially if we end up getting a lower opposition bar and we beat Chelsea. If we get a couple of lower opposition teams, that'll be Mahrez's forte. Phillips, if he comes back, that'll be his game.
I doubt Phillips will be back for that, unfortunately.
Phillips will not be back for that. Phillips won't be back for that. But it's a game where at the start of the season, it's funny how the season goes on, yes, your perspective starts shifting. That's the type of game I said, Akanji would start there. Akanji's starting centre back now. I'm afraid Akanji's starting centre back. And I tell you, actually, you know what? I'll give him a little shout. I don't know if he's watching right. Daniel Neerman was the first guy to say this man's going to be unreal. Dan was.
That says that anybody who plays for City.
No.
Revel. Listen, let me take you on a rewind. The man said Ake could be a starting centre half like a year ago. I'm sorry, I love the man to bits. I know. Listen. Come on now.
Open home.
The man will, I love Dan to bits because the man will back absolutely anyone who walks through the fucking door. Like, regardless of how their career has been, regardless of who they are, he will back anyone and everybody until they like the fuck up massively in like a big game and they go, yeah, it's not for you, big man.
If you tell him that Brian Barry Murphy is a person, he will say that he is the greatest Irishman to ever come out of any country ever. Brian Barry Murphy, the under 23s coordinator.
Listen, big up Dano, man. Big up Dano. He's a goat. He's a hardcore, die-hard Manchester City fan, and he just loves anybody associated with the club. And you need people like that, man. You need people who are positive and they'll never have a bad word to say.
Balances me out anyway.
A bit of balance will go a long way, but listen, you need people like that. Big up Dano. Cole Palmer getting more games this season, says Alec. Yeah, he will. Cole Palmer is at the start of what we saw with Project Foden, isn't it? Where you know Foden, we were calling out for him to get we were calling out for him to get more game time, and then you know as each season went by, he became more integral in the team. And I think with Cole Palmer, you just have to ease him in slowly because we know Mahrez is coming towards the end, or he's coming to the tail end of his career where he won't be able to play every week, and we know he's not playing well right now. Cole Palmer will eventually fill those boots of Mahrez. It's just about working your way up the ladder and take your opportunities when they come, and there's nothing to suggest from Cole Palmer that he can't do it at this level. I think he's one to watch out for. He's one we should be excited about. What else people saying? Prem soon come. Yeah, feel sorry for Phillips with him. Wish him well. So unlucky. Yeah, Calvin Phillips, man. I was very excited to see Calvin Phillips. He's a player that I do rate quite highly, or at least when he's fit and he's playing. As Beyond Belief says here, there's no return date for Phillips, but Pep thinks he can play in the World Cup. I hope he doesn't play in the World Cup, man. I really hope he doesn't. It'll just From a selfish perspective, I hope he doesn't. But from his perspective, he obviously really, really wants to do so. But exactly, Haaland should rest. Maybe come in for the last 40 minutes. Maybe. I think we're more than good enough to beat Copenhagen.
To win the Copenhagen game.
To win the Copenhagen game tomorrow night without Erling Haaland, I think we need to eventually get to the point where we can say, right, we don't need to play the Norwegian. We don't need to play him. We're not desperate to thump this team. Basically, look at some games and say, we just need to win them. We just need to win them, whether that means Alvarez scores, whether that means Sergio Gomez scores, or just win the game. Don't be looking for Haaland to dominate and Haaland to yeah, as much as we love the idea of Haaland breaking records and scoring goals every single game, and we just want it. It's like a drug, isn't it? Every time he scores, you get like a buzz off, and you're like, oh, this is class. It's like an adrenaline or something. We need to accept the fact that he is human as well. Even though we do call him a robot, he is human, and he does need breaks, and every break he gets will only help him. But we need to accept what I'm saying is that the records that we all want him to break, and he probably will break, are actually secondary priority. They're not the priority. Haaland setting records and scoring goals every week is not the priority. Winning trophies is, and it's a team game. So if it's going to benefit the team in the long term that Haaland gets a bit of a rest and is fitter for the Southampton game and fitter for the Liverpool game the week after that, don't play him against Copenhagen is basically what I'm saying. Dara here is saying in the chat, I need Alvarez. We need Alvarez because also, as important as it is to give Haaland rest to have him fit for big games, you also want Alvarez to have had enough game time and feel confident enough to slot in for big games if we need to call upon him. What if Haaland does pick up an injury and he can't play against someone? What if Haaland was to pick up an injury against Copenhagen and he can't play against Liverpool in 2 weeks' time? Alvarez is still too fresh. You can't put pressure on Alvarez then. You can't rely on Alvarez, can you? So you need to find the balance of giving Haaland rest and giving Alvarez enough game time so that he can feel comfortable slotting in and not feel under pressure to hit the ground running and that kind of fresh player sort of vibe. We're going to have to get to understand at some point that Haaland can't play every single week. I don't know. What do we think about that?
Yeah, it's gonna hit us with like a slap in the face eventually when he just does a muscle or something and sets out for a week. Like, it's just gonna be like, did he really have to play the Copenhagen game? Could he have survived without playing the Copenhagen? There's a lot of things.
Would you fucking stop?
When he eventually does something.
When his battery runs out, when
he needs to be recharged,
when no power mode runs out and he runs out of battery.
Yeah, when that happens, we are going to turn around and say, was it really necessary? And the answer will probably be no. But it's a fine line you have to walk in the sense of, like, I'm with you. If it means that he's going to be 100% fit for Liverpool and what was the other game you mentioned?
Southampton.
Then keep him away from this game. To be honest with you, keep him fucking away from this game. But if you want it, if you're in the camp of the help build momentum, if that's what he runs off, probably isn't. But if he runs off momentum and dreams, then have him play and go out and score a couple. Because again, Copenhagen, I'm trying not to be disrespectful. Copenhagen, on reputation, are probably the weakest in our group.
They're actually third right now, to be honest. They're actually third. Sevilla are bottom because of goal difference, because we absolutely slapped them.
I was sat there, I was thinking, who the fuck else in the group?
That's our fault. That's our fault.
But
it's the Blondie fault.
I put it in my. I did put it in the notes because I make a list, especially when it's a team like Copenhagen. We have to do a bit of research. They haven't scored a goal in the group yet, so it's one of those. Listen, I think Dennis makes a point here, and I do want to bring this up because it is interesting. People scream for Alvarez all the time. I think people forget that the man played a full season of football and then came to us without a break. Argentina's season doesn't work the same way as our season. It runs on a different calendar. It runs on a different time. So he didn't get that summer break. He was still playing football when he came over. So he hasn't had that break. If we were to just throw him in and play him when everybody else wanted to play him, like when everyone's screaming, oh, let's give Alvarez a try, let's bring Alvarez on now. It's like Pep's managing his minutes because he knows he hasn't had a break. Argentina are going to the World Cup. He's probably going to be in that Argentina squad. Like, he's going to be, if he was to play as much as people wanted him to play, he'd be dead already. Like, you need to manage him a little bit. He didn't have that break. I think that's where you'll see more of him in the future. But that's why I don't think he needs as many minutes to get up to speed. Because again, he's coming off a lot of like regular first team football when he came here, so he still should be, you know, relatively in tune. And I think it was someone before saying play him on the wing. Pep's already said that he's not going to play him on the wing. Pep's already said if him and Haaland are playing together, it's a front two. He doesn't want Alvarez to be wasted on the wing because he's got natural goal scoring instincts. So I think it's just you know, you need to manage your expectations a little bit with Alvarez. Trust Pep what he's doing. If you don't see him and it annoys you, and it does annoy me a little bit because I do genuinely want to see him more, because he started against Forest and he got 2 goals. The only reason he wasn't man of the match is because, I mean, Haaland scored 3. So I do want to see him more, but I do understand why we're not seeing him more, because of, you know, you take those things into account. You know, he's played a lot of football for his age before he came here with no break, and, you know, Pep doesn't want to throw him on the wing, so, you know, he doesn't want to shift it about too much. But I'd hope we'd at least see him in the second in Copenhagen. I hope we see him there, because there's a chance that would be through.
I actually hate you guys. This is awful.
This is what, by the way, when we do the Copenhagen and we do the review for this tomorrow, I want the Copenhagen complete and the Copenhagen on the worst. You know what? I think we can get something going for that. But Joe's dead right, man. Joe's 100% right. You can't just expect him playing every game after playing a full season plus a semi-knockout stage of the CONMEBOL Libertadores. That's what it's called.
And then the World Cup. Like, that's coming up and he's in that squad. So, like, there's a lot of football.
Second best player in that squad.
Yeah, but the thing, I agree with the point entirely that you don't want to burn him out, but there also has to be an element of you need to start betting him in. And it's all fine and dandy saying he has those natural striker instincts, which he does, and I've no doubt he does because we've seen it already against Nottingham Forest. But we're so used to now, or we expect, because Haaland has hit the ground running in such fine fashion, that Alvarez will just do the exact same thing. But it's more normal for a player to need time and a lot of game time to settle in and get used to playing with new players, get used to the new surroundings, get used to the new competition. And that's just something I'd expect more from Alvarez than Haaland, because Haaland's just built completely differently. So my point, I agree with the point that, you know, you don't want to burn him out because he played a full season with River Plate, but we will need to start betting him in and getting him used to playing with the players that he's with now, so that when we do need to call upon him, he's not fresh, he's not, you know, raw. He knows what he's doing, basically. He knows what he needs to do. He knows the task at hand. So it's kind of a balance. You need to strike a balance with Alvarez of not over-exhausting him and also, you know, acclimatizing him to his new team and getting him used to playing with the likes of De Bruyne and Bernardo and Foden and Grealish and whatnot, and maybe even Haaland. So who knows, with Alvarez, it's going to be something that I think Pep is doing the right thing so far in giving him cameos, and, you know, giving him a start against Forest was the right thing, and maybe he will start tomorrow night. I'd like to see him start tomorrow night, but I think Pep he's controlling the situation with Alvarez perfectly. You're right that probably it is more of a priority really not to burn him out than to bet him in, but I think the betting in is something that will become more important as time goes on. But yeah, the World Cup as well for him is going to be absolutely massive. But listen, in terms of this game, what we want to see is just 3 points. We want to see a good performance. I think it's only natural that maybe we won't be at the exact same level we were against Man United, because we hit a pretty big high against Man United, and it's hard to rise yourself again 3 days later. But for me, it's just get the 3 points, get in and get out Copenhagen, and then move on to Copenhagen. I think is the next one. They're back to back, aren't they? So get the 3 points, get ourselves up to 9, and hopefully get qualification. But listen, we've been live for an hour and a half. We'll be live for about another 5-10 minutes more. We're going to do our score predictions as well. So there's about 25-30 of you guys in the building right now. Make sure you've all hit the like button. It's free to do. Just hit the like button. We're on 60 likes right now, by the way, which is absolutely sick. Shout out to all of you who've hit the like button. Shout out to all of you who are subscribed to the channel. Shout out to all of you who share the channel around, who tell people to subscribe, who help this community grow, because you guys are absolutely the main thing here. You guys are the reason the community is what it is. You guys make this channel what it is. You guys make these streams as enjoyable as they are. So we massively, massively appreciate all of you, the regulars who come in all the time and show love, and all the new people who've come in and are going to become regulars. Hopefully, we appreciate you. But listen, get your score predictions in for Copenhagen at home tomorrow night. Get your score predictions in down below. And as always, people, you know the drill. Let me know your score predictions. Who's going to score the goal? Who is going to score for Manchester City, hopefully? And don't say Haaland. If you're going to say Haaland, put it in brackets. and then put someone else's name beside it because Haaland is a cheat code. Haaland is a cop-out. We know Haaland's going to score if he plays. So put in someone else's name, and if you want to say Haaland, put it in brackets. Score predictions and who'll score. Revel, I may as well start with you. Copenhagen, the game you have labelled. What is your score prediction, and who would you predict to score?
I think Man City are going to win the Copenhagen game 4-0. I think Joao Cancelo, if he starts, will pop up with a goal and an assist. He's going to go a bit naughty here now.
Okay. A goal and assist. You're confident Cancelo for tomorrow?
Maybe. Cards to the chest. Yes, I am. I think he's going to have to. I don't want to say he's not been poor, but he's not been banging unbelievable lately. I think tomorrow is going to be the jumping off point again. We said it for Grealish. Everyone needs jumping off point. Tomorrow is going to be when he scores and assists and looks unbelievable. I'm backing him tomorrow. Not in a monetary game, but I'm going to back him mentally. I'm going to say he's going to go out and score and assist.
Okay, so Cancelo and a 4-0 for Rebel. Joe, before I ask you, I'll see what some of the people are saying. Alex says 5-0 City. He's expecting a thumping tomorrow night. I don't see why not. It just depends what level we turn up at. Dara says Dara's prediction is 4-0. I'm going for a very calm 3-0. Letabo says we'll take that. We just like I said, we just won the 3 points. You know what I mean? Rust Beard says 3-0 in brackets. Thank you for following the rules, Rust. Haaland, and he says Alvarez, Grealish. We have a Grealish prediction from someone that's not me. And Cancelo.
Just heard his horn hit the roof there, you know.
Yeah, listen, you don't know what's going on under this desk. Chris Paulson says 4-0. DJ Sus says 5-0. Dara says, oh my days, he's only gone and stole this Dara's prediction. So both Dara's
I don't even have the chat in front of me.
Well, both Dara's are saying 4-0. Alex says Haaland in brackets. Once again, thank you for following the rules, Alec, with 3. Alvarez with 3. And Ederson with 3, making it a 9-0 scoreline.
Yes, 3 penalties, no way.
Yeah, man, that would be. I think Ederson has it in his locker. I don't see why not. Dennis says 10-1 every player with a goal, including OG for Ederson. So
fucking amazing, absolutely incredible.
Okay, well there you go. That's an interesting score prediction. Joe, why don't you fire away? Let us know your score prediction and who's going to score a goal.
I'm gonna one up Revel and go 5-0, and I'm gonna submit and say a Grealish goal. Super Jackie Grealish.
5-0. 5-0 and a Jack Grealish goal. That's 2 predictions already before I've even spoken on my predictions for Jack Grealish. Is there something brewing? Is the Birmingham Blue going to score?
What's he cooking?
What's he cooking? What's Jack Grealish cooking for tomorrow night? What am I cooking? I'll tell you what I'm cooking. I'm cooking a 3-0 win, right? A 3-0 win. Nothing.
Coward.
What you mean coward? Come on, man. 3-0 is a battering. We just got used to these score lines where we score 3.
Right for 6.
Listen,
yeah, man, we're just too used to scoring.
Dortmund beat this team 3-0. They were fucking shit.
That's fair, right? Dortmund are shy.
Don't shit, man. I'm gonna say 3-0, and I'm gonna say Jack Grealish is going to score twice. He's going to score twice. I think it is up to me as the Jack Grealish super defender to whenever somebody else predicts he will score, I have to one up it again. I just have to keep showing that I'm behind this guy.
Fuck me, one was enough. Jesus Christ, you put so much pressure on him.
I think he's going to score twice.
Yeah, I think he's going to score 3 times.
I think he's got 4.
He's going to score.
I think he's going to score all 5.
I think he's going to just do everything.
3-0 for me. Jack Grealish with 2 and Alvarez is going to score 1. So 3-0, 4-0 and 5-0 from yours truly at the 1894. Listen, we're going to call it a day. We've been live for well over an hour and a half now. There's 26 of you still in the building. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. And if you have the time and if you enjoy the content that much, share the channel with a friend, share it around to your City fan friends, and tell them to subscribe. We massively appreciate all of your support. I will never be done saying this because I genuinely mean it, and I speak on behalf of myself, Joe, and Dara when I say we massively appreciate all of you who come into these streams, who chat to us, who give us your thoughts, who get involved in the chat line, who follow us on socials and text us, and who are involved in our Discord server. Without you guys, this channel and this streams are not are not what we would like them to be. They're not as enjoyable without you guys. So you guys are the main thing. You guys are the rock of the 1894, and we massively appreciate you all the time. We'll be back on Thursday night at about, I don't know, 10, half 10, the usual time we're live, with a review of the Copenhagen game, and then we'll probably be live again on Friday or Saturday to preview the Southampton game. So once again, thank you to all of you who've come in, and we will see you on Thursday at about 10, half 10 for hopefully a review of another win, and we can kind of talk about, you know, what way we'd like to move forward in the Champions League then, because that's qualification secured. Listen, good night and God bless. Big love to all of you. Good night. Joe, wrap her up.
Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand.